Brother lads, welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. This is the latest Arsenal news and injury update as well. Could we be facing an early injury crisis at Arsenal early in the new season? Ricardo Calafiori is tired. That's the importance of signing players early in the window. We're going to talk about that. Jurrien is still struggling and he's not yet ready. Now, he played a couple of games during our preseason, but Arsenal feel he might have picked up an injury again. Not the same injury, but this time a different one. And he won't be ready for this game against Leverkusen, but also in the upcoming games as well. We'll talk about Thomas Partey's fitness, which has been a topic of discussion around Arsenal, and what is going on. If some of our players are already tired and injured before the season starts, what about the likes of Saka, the likes of Rice that played until the final of the World Cup, of the Euro, sorry. And again, I think the biggest question here is, does that affect the way we begin the season? Will that affect our season? And could we have found a solution a little bit much better or earlier on? We are going to be answering all those questions. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and let's get into it. So let's start off with Ricardo Calafiori. Ricardo Calafiori has not played in any Arsenal games ever since signing for the club. Right from the Liverpool game in Philadelphia, now the Leverkusen game, he's not part of the squad. And the news coming out of the walls, around Arsenal, is that Calafiori is tired. So he's suffering from tiredness. We were told that he didn't play in the Liverpool game because he was, jet lagged. Basically, he was tired due to the flight. And we all said, okay, we expect to see him against Bayer Leverkusen. Now, against Bayer Leverkusen, still more sources are saying that the player is tired, and that's why he won't be playing for Arsenal. Now, I have a problem with Ricardo Calafiori, and you remember me talking about it before we signed him. He has a record of injuries. I mean, I'm not saying he's injured right now. If it's, if the sources are saying that he's tired, we are going to take that for now. We're going to say, yeah, he's tired, but he's got that, record of injuries. And I pray that he is not injured. Imagine having Zinchenko, Calafiori, and Timber all injured in a new season. Remember, Julian Timber came in as a solution to Alexander Zinchenko, who was injury prone, and Calafiori was brought in as a solution to Julian Timber's injury. Like, it won't really make any sense. But I think this is where we got it wrong. We're going to talk about Julian Timber's injury as well. But this is where we got it wrong with Ricardo Calafiori and our signings. And maybe Arsenal didn't have much to do, but signing players early in the window is very important, especially if those players are going to play a key role for the team in the new season. It's very, very key. It's very important. Ricardo Calafiori, if we're going to sign a left back, and Mikel Arteta wanted a left back, for me, Arsenal should have looked at Gerard Hato as priority, and then we should have looked at Murillo and maybe Jared Braithwaite. And the reason for that is those are players that didn't play at the Euros. Those are players you could have signed earlier on. With the midfielder, it really doesn't matter because, our midfield is not losing any quality. But in defense, Ricardo Calafiori comes in as a player that is going to provide that kind of balance for Arsenal earlier on in the season. And think about our fixtures earlier on in the season. Manchester City away, Tottenham away, Aston Villa away, Leicester at home, and Wolves at home. We have 3 away games that you don't even want to play. And we are already facing an injury crisis at the back. So with Ricardo Calafiori, I think this lesson goes to Arsenal. He's not injured, he's tired. Let us do our signings early. Like, just imagine we are on the 7th day of August and we are talking, Arsenal have signed one player like this, and that's Ricardo Calafiori, and a couple of players for the under 18s and under 23s. That is laziness. That is not good business. That is not the way you want to do your business. Honestly, if you're going into a new season and in that season you expected, I predicted Arsenal to win the Premier League. If you've seen my videos, last 2 videos about Arsenal's title charge, I think we are going to win the Premier League. I think we are in a right position to win the Premier League. But some of the things we have done this summer, they don't convince me. Edin Ketia is still around. Reiss Nelson is still around. Ramsdale is still around. And these are players that are basically not part of the project. Some of them have already agreed personal terms with other clubs, and that tells you that their future is not at Arsenal. So I'd love to say with the Ricardo Calafiori thing is I pray that it's not big. Fingers crossed he comes back and he plays over the weekend, because if you're having a tired player, a key player that is tired, right, a new signing, what about these guys that have been, at the Euros? What about these guys? I mean, we're talking about Ricardo Calafiori, who has not even played in the Champions League. He's played less games as compared to many of the Arsenal players. So we should have signed our players a little bit earlier on. You give them that time to, settle in, rest, and then begin the new season. Now, with Jurrien Timber, I don't think this is for Arsenal to blame. The player came back last season in May, and he wanted to play, but Mikel Arteta decided he was only going to give him 1 game or 2 games, and that was, the last game, which was against Everton. I brought him on just to give him that feel of, match day football, and I liked it. Now, with Jurrien Timber, the injury that he suffered is a very, very difficult one. It's a very, very complicated one. SCL injuries are very complicated. Christopher Nkunku suffered one, and ever since he has never been the same player again. Thibaut Courtois suffered one, and a couple of players that have actually suffered it, especially last season, have never been the same players again. So with Jurrien Timber, it's going to be a heavy loss if he has picked up, a long time. Now they're saying it is not an SCL. They're saying it is not a knee injury, and they're saying it is not very serious. It is precaution that he won't play against Leverkusen, and he didn't play against Liverpool. Someone is lying somewhere, because against Liverpool, the information coming from the club was Calafiori and Timber are tired. Now, we are getting information that they're not part of the squad to play Leverkusen, because both of them, because Timber is having, a slight injury problem. So, what I understand is when you're recovering from an SCL, when you're recovering from such a long-term injury, it's going to take you time to be back on your feet. And that is the primary reason why Arsenal wanted a defender this summer. It's why Mikel Arteta said, we are not going to risk Jurrien Timber. We are going to go and sign a defender, because we know coming back from that injury, coming back from such a heavy injury, that is going to cost you a lot of energy. It's going to cost you, a lot of time. And we didn't want to rush him back. We didn't want to put a lot of pressure on him. And I'll give Mikel Arteta credit to him there. That was a very good decision. Very, very good decision. Imagine Jurrien Timber breaking down 2 games or 3 games into the Premier League season, and we are going to sign Ricardo Calafiori. That would be bad news. So, credit to Mikel Arteta. I think with Jurrien Timber, what Arsenal have to do and what we have to understand is he might never be the same again, like Ansu Fati. Ansu Fati at a time, he was one of the top talents in world football. And we were thinking Pedri plus Ansu Fati plus Gavi, that is the new, Barcelona. That is the new world, order in football. And Ansu Fati picked up a knee injury. It was treated poorly for 2 times, and it's gone. So what Arsenal have to understand is that we signed Jurrien Timber as one of the best defensive prospects in world football, and that's not going to change. 2022, 2023, and in 2024, Jurrien Timber has been one of the best young prospects in terms of, defensive options around Europe and in the world as well. But he might never be the same again. He might never be the player we signed from Ajax because of that injury scare. Now, credit to him, when he has appeared on the pitch, he's looked good. But I would ask Mikel, and I would ask anyone, why has he played so many minutes in the preseason games that he's played, right? Why has he played so many minutes? We could have managed his minutes starting with preseason. Give him 30 minutes, give him 40 minutes, give him 45 minutes around there. So there is a weakness in managing him there. But I mean, if it's not as serious, it's okay. If it is as serious, then it's going to have serious repercussions. Now, why Jurrien Timber's injury is so scary for Arsenal is Tomiyasu again is another player that you cannot trust, and as we start the season, Saliba, Gabriel, all these both of them have been away for international tournaments, the Euros and the Copa America. Both of them have been busy. You would have expected that Tomiyasu, Jurrien Timber, and a couple of players that didn't play at the Euros would provide Arsenal with fresh options or fresher options as we get into the season. Tomiyasu is injured. If you add that to Calafiori being tired and you add that to Timber's injury worries, we might be in a big problem. We might have a big problem at the moment. Now, on top of that, we have Thomas Partey issues. I remember last season, which team started the season with many injuries? Was it Man United? Was it Chelsea? It was Chelsea. I don't want us to be in a situation where Chelsea were last season. And again, why I don't want us to be in that situation is Mikel Arteta is not very good at changing his options. He's not very good at doing what other managers do very well. He's not actually very good at that. So I would never, ever, ever want to see my club, with 5-6 injury, problems. Not because we don't have a good squad, but because I want Mikel Arteta to have his options. Otherwise, it's a bad sign. Now, Thomas Partey's injury crisis continues. We are hearing that he has had fitness problems, especially in terms of advancing. So what Arsenal had thought is we were going to get him back to the fitness levels where we had him. That's what we had thought, right? That we were going to have him back at the fitness levels that he's so good at, and he's failing to get there. With Thomas Partey and Ricardo Calafiori, if any of them gets injured for a whole season, there are only two people to blame. The head of physio at Arsenal and whoever recommended those two signings. So with Thomas Partey, I'm going to say this. Arsenal know very well the problems of Partey, and I think Mikel Arteta is looking at Partey as a player that is well backed up. That's why we kept Jorginho. That's why there is Declan Rice, and that's why we signed Declan Rice. So I won't be surprised to see Partey play lesser games this season if we get Mikel Merino. I won't be surprised to see Partey playing like 17 games in total, or even less than 15 games in total, and we see Declan Rice, Merino, or Ethan Nwaneri, or Fabio Vieira, and Martin Odegaard. So with Thomas Partey, if Arsenal are going to rely on him in terms of tactics, strategy, and style of play, we are the biggest idiots in London. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think what we are going to see, and this again is a big message to Thomas Partey fans. Most of you are going to be saying, why doesn't he play Partey? Why isn't he playing Partey? I think Mikel Arteta is has slowly evolved past the Thomas Partey need. That if Arsenal don't have Thomas Partey, they don't play well. Think about this. When Arsenal played very brilliant football from January to April, actually from January to May, until the end of the season, how many games did Thomas Partey play? And I know many people came in and said, the Partey and Rice and Odegaard, oh my God, this is the best. It is not the best. Come on. It's not the best. Rice is not the attacking option that you want. And obviously, it's not that defensive option that you want in terms of, ball progression. So you'd rather have him behind a player like Merino and behind a player like Odegaard. So I think Arsenal are evolving past Partey. So his injury problems might not, scare me that much. Unless Mikel makes a major mistake of letting him stay, knowing his injury problems very well, and then trusting that he's going to be okay. That will be my problem. That would be my problem. So does this impact our season? Oh, yes, it does. First and foremost, some players that are key are injured and tired during preparation. What does that tell you? That tells you that as we get into the new season, we have some players that have trained very well. Odegaard, Ben White, Vieira, and a couple of others. And then we have some players that have not had good, preparations because they are tired and some of them are injured. Does that impact our title chase? It does. With Manchester City, you start right away and you finish with a good gear. If it's gear number 1 that's going to start you, it's the one you've got to finish with. With the way we are going to, with our first games of the campaign, I'm scared a little bit. If we get any 2 more injuries or tired players, and remember we already have players that played until the final, I don't want to scare you, but you better prepare for a ramshackle start to the season by Arsenal. You better prepare. I will be prepared myself.